Hello, this is Aaron Mean of SG Gaming Info, and welcome to a new episode of Let's Talk. In today's episode, I'll be talking about the time-consuming and look-based gathering and crafting systems in Final Fantasy XIV. Final Fantasy XIV is one of my favourite games, but Square Enix's MMORPG has a serious problem when it comes to its crafting and gathering. The issues stem from a difficulty curve that initially starts off slow and steady, but when the curve reaches the game's expansion Heavensward, the crafting and gathering curve begins to spike, and when you reach level 60, you are met with an almost insurmountably difficult and look-based content. Before talking about Heavensward's gathering and crafting, let's explore leveling a crafter from 1 to 50. Now in Final Fantasy XIV, you have the ability to level every single crafting and gathering class in the game, and leveling both these types of classes from 1 to 50 is relatively straightforward, as each class relies on each other. The best example of this is with level 42 Weaver item, Felt Linen. In order to craft this item, you are required to gather Fleece, Grenade Ash, and Neutron. To gather Fleece, you have to kill certain monsters until some drops. For Grenade Ash, you are required to level Miner to level 40. And for Neutron, you are required to level an Alchemist to level 25, along with having a level 25 Miner. 1 to 50, you are shown that Omni-crafting and Omni-gathering is important, and leaving one to the wayside can be troubling, although not entirely destructive. At level 50 pre-Heavensward, you are met with a brand new challenge, gathering nodes that are tied to spawn timers. This is the beginnings of the time-consuming aspect of crafting and gathering, as you can only gather from these nodes once every 70 minutes, and if you want items from these nodes, you better be quick, as they only hang around for about 9 minutes. This new artificial lengthening of crafting and gathering is then with another time sink in the form of the synthesis leveling. This involves breaking down items into the component parts. With each successful breakdown, you gain the synthesis points in one particular crafting class. To be able to be effectively used as mechanics, you have to grind one crafting class's the synthesis to 70 plus points, as you require high level demateria. Pre-Heavensward also features master books for each crafting class. The first book was a pretty straightforward experience, but the second book required an almost godly amount of luck. To make the items required to unlock the book, you have to work around spawn timers, having a high enough synthesis, and I was praying that your crafting rotation would be good enough to get you close to 100% quality chance. While this sounds easy, the maximum amount of high quality start for the items to unlock the second master book was about 2 to 5%. And after countless attempts, I believe the highest I could ever reach was about 15%. Luck was the name of the game at the very highest tier pre-Heavensward content. The heavy luck and time consumption of the final tier of endgame crafting and gathering was not a surprise for me, as it was the final tier before the expansion, and as such it had a right to be a challenge. Now let's talk about leveling crafting and gathering classes from 51 to 60 in Heavensward. Leveling these classes in the expansion could be best described as a pain, as the game liked to throw in artificial time extensions with more items tied to nodes on spawn timers. The idea of gating some key crafting materials behind nodes that would only spawn once every 35 minutes and only stay active for 3 minutes could almost be a joke if it wasn't true. This decision to add such a time extension meant that if you want to level quickly, you would have to rely on player-run market boards and buy items for large sums of gil. However, not long after Heavensward's release, Square Enix did see reason and added a shop where you could buy some of the key low-level items that were gated behind the spawn timers. While a big issue with spawn timers was fixed, the game liked to throw an additional curveball by having some key crafter or leveling items appear as hidden items in gathering nodes. Hidden items are items that spawn randomly in a node group you are gathering from, and depending on your luck, you may find them in every second node, or in some cases you could go 4 or more nodes without coming across a hidden item. Now we get to max level endgame Heavensward crafting and gathering. And if you thought level 50 endgame crafting and gathering was bad, then you're in for a rude awakening. At level 60 you are met with several new systems, the most common of which is the blue and red crafting and gathering scripts. These scripts are important as they are the key component to unlocking level 58 crafting and gathering gear and high-end level 60 crafting and gathering gear. Gaining scripts isn't difficult, as you must use Heavensward's new collectible system to craft and gather specific items of a certain rarity. While the process is simple, it is time consuming, especially when it comes to gathering red scripts, as you can only gather 450 crafting and 450 gathering script a week. This cap means that the process from base level 60 gear to red script level 60 gear takes, in my opinion, way too long to unlock, How long would you say? Well, it takes about 9 weeks to gain the necessary amount of red script to buy all the red script gear and primary weapon for just one crafting class. Now once you have the red script gear, you aren't finished, as you can now create the highest end crafting content 2-star level 60 items, which can only be gained via master book trees, which in turn are unlocked by handing in a number of blue crafting scripts. Creating these 2-star items isn't easy, as you have to go through a 9-week process of gaining red script to get the necessary stats. Although you can use the base level 60 crafting gear, but you'll have to spend millions to increase the stats with materia. Now, to best describe the process and to show off how much time and luck you need to craft these, I will focus on explaining the requirements to craft a piece of gear called Boltmaster's Gibbet. To create this item you need 3 astral silk, 1 crawler silk, 1 arm regis nugget, 1 star sapphire, 2 landborn aether sand, and finally 3 fieldcraft demateria 3. The process to gathering crawler silk, arm regis nuggets and star sapphires is pretty straightforward, as you just require a level 58 plus miner, botanist, weaver and goldsmith. But on the other hand, the astral silk, sandborn aether sand and fieldcraft demateria is far more difficult. To acquire astral silk, you are required to gather materials from concealed gathering points. These points can only be found by purchasing sewn favors with red gatherer scripts, which is a lengthy and tedious process. Landborn Aetherside requires you to search out special ethereal nodes that spawn at set times throughout an in-game day, but finding these nodes isn't the end of the process, as you need to use the collectible system to collect specific items with a specific rarity level. Once you have completed this, you must use another new system called Ethereal Reduction to break down the recently gathered item and hope that after you break it down, you get some landborn aether sand. And finally we have Fieldcraft Demateria 3. This is pretty straightforward if you've leveled the Synthesis pre-Heavensward. If not, get ready to slog at the Synthesis skill to 70+. With high-end crafting, you will find yourself spending a lot of time gathering red script, making sure you have leveled at least 5 or more crafting and grading classes to 60, learn how several new systems work, and have a huge amount of patience. So in the end, can anything be done to fix the massive time sink component to high-end crafting and gathering? Well, honestly, I really don't think much can be done. The new systems such as collectible, favor and reduction are the main reasons behind the time sink, and I don't see Square Enix making any major changes to them, despite the fact that numerous players have been quite vocal in their displeasure at some of these systems, with favor getting the brunt of the hatred. There is also the fact that red script has such a small weekly cap. Unlike the above mentioned systems, I could see Square Enix tweaking it in the future, although I wouldn't see that happen until they theoretically introduced another script tier, although there's no proof that a new script tier could be added. So, in short, max level crafting and gathering in Final Fantasy XIV will most likely always have the time sink issue. In the future, it could be easier to get the items, but players will be always left to the mercy of fixed spawn timers and the game's random number generator. Thank you for watching. Please like, favorite and subscribe. For more game information, please visit sggaminginfo.com, and don't forget to like our Facebook page at facebook.com/sggaminginfo and follow us on Twitter at sggaminginfo.